I'm Dr. Howie Jacobson, and this is the Plant Yourself Podcast. Each week, I bring you a conversation with someone who's making a positive difference in the world. And for my day job, I help leaders and their teams master their mindsets so they can achieve great things. To find out more, check out the Mindset Mastery Memo, my Substack newsletter. You can find it at plantyourself.com/memo. And now, today's show. Hey, you and I are going on a walk this morning, and during that walk, I am going to talk through a little bit stream of consciousness about the book that I'm starting to write. It's either one book or possibly three. I haven't figured it out yet. But I figured it will help me kind of hear myself think and explain things. And I think it'll help you because these are concepts that I think are really, really important. So basically, the book that I am working on is designed to help people answer the question, how can I act in alignment with my values and goals? And the thing that stops us is, myriad things, but think about all the times you've behaved in ways that you don't approve of now. And maybe you've behaved in ways that even in that moment, you're like, why am I doing this? Whether it's around food and diet, eating things, snacking late at night, making poor menu choices, shopping impulsively, overeating, not chewing, drinking, various psychoactive substances, any kind of addiction, or whether it's interpersonally. I'm walking through, I'm going to keep talking about the environment too. I'm walking through this new neighborhood in my town. It's called La Plana. And there's all these big, giant new houses going up. They all look very similar. They're very boxy, sort of white concrete. And given that this is a country where homes tend to be small, a lot of people, especially in cities, people live in small apartments. The rooms are quite small. These really are mansions. I'll come by with a camera and grab some photos later. Anyway, but as I walk through this neighborhood, you're going to hear lots of construction sounds. Hopefully not too loud or annoying. I got my little wind muff on my microphone, so hopefully that'll all be just fine. So the question is, so why do we do things that we don't want to do? Why do we behave in ways? So like I was saying, interpersonally, we could snap at people. Here's somebody walking the dog answering their phone. We can lose our temper, can interrupt. I work a lot in organizational corporate settings, and like one of the key problems, the key things that keeps, organizations from being successful is they don't work well as a team because people are mad at each other and they don't like the way the other people are behaving, and everyone's kind of doing it, or people are complaining, or they're avoiding conflict and not saying what's on their mind, but there's no trust, and so there's no ability to engage in productive conflict, to come up with the best ideas. So it's a very big question that I'm asking, and it's not a new question, but I kind of wanted to write about it from my perspective, because I have gone through many different incarnations in terms of the kind of coach and teacher I have been. So in this first part or first book, so I'm thinking of sort of around triggers. Like we don't behave certain ways in a vacuum. We behave in certain ways because of what's happening around us. So I can say, I've worked with lots of people, as you may know, around their health behaviors. And one of the first things we do is we figure out what their goals are, what their resources are, and what their plans are, what they want to do in order to accomplish their goals. And so people are pretty clear, okay, this is how I'm going to eat. This is how I'm going to shop. I'm going to make, it could be more or less granular, like exactly like a meal plan, like Tuesday, oatmeal with cinnamon and chopped apples in the morning. Or it could just be sort of much more, here's basically what I eat and here's what I have in the house and that sort of thing. So the question is then what comes up that diverts us from those intentions, from those plans? What triggers our behaviors? And specifically, we want to know what triggers the behaviors that we're trying to avoid, although it's also an interesting question, what triggers the behaviors that we like, that we are happy about? Because we tend to think that those come from inside us, when in fact it's likely that external forces can play a big role in triggering good behaviors as bad behaviors. So I'm going to talk about 4, and the book may end up being a generalized book for just sort of everyone. I'm also thinking, I also want to use it to, grow and expand my consulting and coaching practice here in Europe. So it may end up being focused more on leadership. It's all the same thing, just a question of, what language I use. So it might be trigger-free leadership, something like that. But in any case, I want to talk today about kind of the 4 different approaches. And I've been going back and forth. Is it 4? Is it 3? Is it 5? But I'll kind of give you what I've got right now. Today's January 30th, so it's about a week after the tech world has been rocked by DeepSeek, the new Chinese-based AI chatbot. So I gave it a try a couple of days ago, and I asked it kind of help me come up with a metaphor for behavior and behavior change. And the prompt I gave it was like, let's think about this like if these are forces acting on us, pulling us in one direction or another. So I gave it the prompt, let's pretend this is the same as tug of war. So what are the metaphors that we can learn from tug of war that can help us figure out how to maintain our footing and not get pulled in unwanted directions in life? And it gave me a bunch of stuff. It was quite impressive, actually. I would say for my first encounters that it's a better tool than ChatGPT, and certainly from the data we're getting and the fact that it's more or less open source, it appears to be much more efficient, which might be nice to have these tools that aren't, causing us to have to reopen old nuclear reactors just to get the power to run them. But that's a digression, that's an aside. So for the rest of this walk, I want to talk about these 4 different approaches to dealing with these triggers so that we can maintain our balance and move in the direction that we want. So the first one has to do with something called allostatic load. And allostatic load is a concept. It says basically, well, let me take a step back. Stress and relaxation. Here's some sort of front-end loader or back-end thing, dumping, digging a big hole and dumping it into the back of a big dump truck. I guess it looks like they're building a new foundation for a new building that's going to go up here. It can put in the sewer and gas lines or whatever. Okay. And there's another construction site coming up. His huge orange cranes. Maybe this wasn't the best route to take, but we'll just pretend it's an ambient walk. Okay, so stress and relaxation. So basically, the stress response is built into just about every living, certainly animal. Plants have different responses to stress too, but we'll stick to animals for the time being, which is the organism, in order to survive, must have a way of assessing its environment and to do something if there's a threat. And the do somethings include sort of freezing so that we are not noticed, that we don't catch a predator's eye, then running away, avoiding, and fighting. So those are the stress responses for an organism to survive, and no species that didn't have those built in would be around, because they wouldn't survive long enough to reproduce. So that's the basics of stress. Now we'll talk about allostatic load, which is sort of how much stress has your body accumulated. So the stress response in humans is meant to be acute. So if you think about like a Discovery Channel or National Geographic special about animals in Africa, you'll see the lion or the leopard chasing after a zebra, and the zebra spots the predator and has the stress response and runs away. And the stress response physiologically is doing everything it can to increase the zebra's odds of getting away. So increasing heart rate, breathing, oxygen to muscles, reducing energy expenditures on anything that's sort of long-term, so that all the energy can go to this survival. And then when the animal escapes and it's safe, it'll like shake a lot, almost like tremoring, and then it will return to grazing or drinking or grooming or sleeping as if nothing had happened. And that's how our equipment is meant to work. So for a brief period of time, there's high stress, everything gets moving, all these chemicals and hormones get dumped into the body, and they get used up. And when the threat is done, relaxation. And there's lots of, basically nature, when it doesn't present the threat, is basically an environment conducive to relaxation. So seeing long vistas, sunsets, the sound of the ocean, all these things can help trigger the return of the nervous system to a parasympathetic, a relaxing state. That's how it's supposed to work. And one of the reasons it works that way is it seems like most animals, we don't know what their cognition is like, so I'm just going to say what it seems like, that most animals seem to live in the present. That if something's not present, they're not thinking about it. So when the lion or the leopard are gone, the zebra is not thinking about, whoa, what if another lion or leopard comes? No, they're just hanging out with their friends, with the food, with the watering hole, with the grass, whatever their environment is where they are. And that, of course, can be, limiting. If you can't think about anything that's not there, it's hard to, let's say, create art or design computer chips or build rockets or create governments. You're kind of limited in what you can create, which is, why humans have done all those things, and, chimps and bed bugs haven't. But it comes at a cost, and the cost is for human beings, our minds can remain fixated on stressors that are no longer even there, and that they can extrapolate from events that are themselves not lethal. Let's say a critical email from your boss, like that's not going to kill you, but we can extrapolate to getting fired, becoming homeless, starving to death, not being able to provide for our families, right? My mind can do that, like, 0 to 60 in 2.3 seconds. If I can even see the name of someone in my inbox, and if I'm in a particular mood, my mind will go to, what did I do wrong? How bad is this going to be? So this human capacity for imagination, for representation, for representational thought, contributes to this quirk that we have, that we can get stressed out by things that aren't here now, and things that may never be here, things that may never happen. And we can get stressed out by the past, by things that are over. So our mind is continually telling us to deal with yesterday, deal with 2 weeks ago, right? So if you've ever ruminated over a conversation that you had where you said something you regret and it keeps coming up, that's your mind responding to what it perceives as a threat by trying to help you, trying to get you to deal with it. Of course, you can't deal with yesterday. You can't even deal with the future. You can only deal with right now. So allostatic load is the way that these stressors accumulate in our minds, and more specifically in our nervous system. So you can think of it in terms of that zebra goes up to 10 when it sees the predator coming, and then back down to 0 or 1 or 2, depending on its, wariness, when the threat is over. But for humans, we can get woken up by an alarm clock, which immediately causes a little bit of a stress response, because alarm clocks very often are sort of loud and jangly. That's the point, to wake us up. And so you can start your day with like a little tick up of stress, and then you immediately think, what have I got to do today? Oh my God, I'm late. Oh, I don't want to go to that board meeting. I wonder if I have to, whatever I got to do. And we're already sort of humming along at a 3 or a 4. And then throughout the day, you see someone you don't like in the office, someone cuts you off in traffic, you read the newspaper, and you continually get more and more stressed out. And before you know it, you're at 6 or 7 or 8. And then for this metaphor, we'll say 10 is the red line. 10 is when your body goes into full-fledged, nothing you can do about it. It's going to save your life, fight or flight. The same thing, like if you're walking and you step off a curb and you all of a sudden see another car coming at you, you don't have to think about it. Your body just reacts. So that's the point. Like say 10 is the point at which you lose conscious control, and the stress system, the fight or flight system, the threat response, this system takes over completely. So if you're already at an 8 or a 9 throughout the day, and then someone makes a little comment, or you're walking past the Little Debbie's end cap at the supermarket, and your body goes, all right, fight or flight time. And, if you're about to approach fight or flight, it's a good thing you get lots of calories into you. So the Little Debbies start looking very, very attractive. You might not be enjoying this feeling of being 8 or 9. And so one of the ways you could try to bring it down is by getting high on junk food, which can distract you a little bit, so that there's more noise there, and you're less focused on whatever feelings are accompanying the 8 or 9 for stress. Or someone makes a comment or gives you a look that you interpret in a negative way, and you could blow up. So losing it. So that's one of the key concepts here, is that we lose it. And we can lose it in big ways and small ways. We can lose it in ways that other people notice and in ways that only we notice. But we've ceded conscious control from our neocortex, the big brain that can imagine computer chips and Cirque du Soleil, and makes future plans, and is, what we think of as rational. When that part goes offline, and all we're doing is trying to survive some situation. And for humans, 99.9% of the time, at least in sort of, industrialized countries where there's not a war going on, most of us are not under immediate lethal threat. So allostatic load can build up throughout the course of a day, and then maybe you go to sleep at night, you watch some Netflix, you read something, maybe it comes down, you take the edge off with a doobie or a couple of glasses of wine or some other ritual or a pint of Ben and Jerry's. And then you wake up in the morning and it's back to 3 or 4, but the process repeats day after day. And over time, you're not waking up at a 3, or you're waking up at a 4, and then you're waking up at a 5, and then you're waking up at a 6. And this is over years, months and years, that your allostatic load is consistently high. And you're always sort of, there's a famous Spanish movie from, I think, the 90s called Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. So kind of think of it like that. Like you're always on the verge of a nervous system hijack. By the way, I finished walking through La Plana, and now I'm on a big road. So you'll hear some traffic. I'm going to head to a circle and cut left and then go up into the hills of I'm going to the 3 German stores that are here in town, the Lidl and Aldi, 2 grocery store chains, and then next to that is Rossmann, is a sort of a drugstore, a beauty store. They have good raw bars sometimes. So for going on hikes or when I want to carry something in my bag for finishing a workout. So that's where we're headed. It's almost 10. Most of the stores here are not yet open. Anyway, so back to allostatic load. And so one of the reasons that we lose control of our actions, that we make bad decisions, that we involve ourselves in things that are not serving us, they're not in concert with our values, they're not aligned with our goals, is we're so close to being in full out fight or flight, or needing to numb out or get high, that we literally do not. It's almost like if you're driving a car and all of a sudden you find yourself in the passenger seat, and well, somebody almost ran me over there in a little van. I had right away though. Zebra crossing. It's almost as if now you're in the passenger seat and someone's telling you, turn the steering wheel, step on the brake, step on the gas. And you're like, dude, I can't. I literally can't. I don't have the resources to make this vehicle go. I'm a passenger. I'm a prisoner in it. And sometimes when it gets really bad, it can feel like you're, zip tied and duct taped in the trunk. And the thing is just going everywhere without you, and there's nothing even you can do about it. So one of the ways, and I would say this is when this feels like it's the case, this is where I start with people. And this used to be like the way I did it. So this is, I'm kind of giving you these different layers and levels. They're all valuable. They all have their place. There was a time when I thought each one was the answer. And one of the reasons I'm writing this book is that, as you'll see, that a lot of self-help and even professional is based on like your model of what the human being is and what behavior is. And so it tends to limit itself to just one or two of these. So this idea of lowering your allostatic load is a big part of reducing your triggers, of reducing the power of triggers to actually affect you, right? If you're always at an 8 or a 9, then teeny little triggers can mess with you. If you're at a 3 or a 4, you're much more robust. You can handle people's, nasty emails. You could shrug off someone cutting in front of you in traffic. You're much more resilient and robust. So a lot of the book is going to be about how do you lower your allostatic load? What can you do? And I'm not going to go into too much about what the solutions are, because that's kind of for the book. And if you know me and you've listened to the podcast, I've talked to a lot of people, and you probably know a lot of ways. Meditation, exercise, breath work, right? So just to give you one example, when your inhales are longer than your exhales, you're increasing the energy available to your body, and you're increasing your heart rate. When your exhales are longer than your inhales, you are signaling relaxation. So you could try it right now. Imagine breathing, let's say, for a count of 10 total, in for 4, out for 6. And you may notice that a little bit of tension kind of leaks out of your body. For a lot of people, we don't pay attention to our breathing at all. So simply saying, hey, notice your breath, immediately can now return our attention to our physiological state and our physical state and our proprioception and our interoception and our sense of ourselves as being or having a body or having an embodied experience. That can already help us feel better, right? Do you ever notice, like, say you're in a movie theater, you're really engaged in what's on the screen, and then you realize, oh, my arm fell asleep, or my leg fell asleep, or I'm really uncomfortable here. And it's the noticing that allows you to change. So the same thing with stress. When we notice, when I ask people to do a quick body scan, it's just, take a breath, notice your body supported by gravity. Somehow, I assume you're not, in a space station, you're not floating, some part of your body is in contact with the earth. Could be feet, could be lying down, could be sitting, where you can feel the backs of your legs or your back against, if you're driving in a car. And just notice your body. You'll already start to make adjustments. You'll already start to shift to become more comfortable, because that's, why not? That's a very natural thing to do when something, we point something out to us, when we recognize that something's amiss or not perfect, and it doesn't cost anything, we just fix it. So sit up straighter, or relax the shoulders, or unclench the jaw, or, most of us hold a lot of tension in our foreheads. So if you want to get rid of that tension, try opening your eyes real wide, like you're trying to increase the creases, and then let it go. And you might notice that could help your forehead relax and release a little bit. By the way, that idea of increasing tension to release tension is very profound. Because if think about how hard it is to just relax. Like, hey, relax. But, so if I tell you, like, all right, your shoulders are probably tense, relax your shoulders, you have a limited capacity to do so. But if I say, raise your shoulders up, hunch them, tighten them up as tight as you can, really, like, send your shoulders to your ears, scrunch them together, and now exhale and release. You will relax more than if I just told you to relax. Because now you have something to push against. You have a frame of reference. So that's is known as progressive relaxation, which involves tension first and then relaxation. And so that's basically how we want to deal with allostatic load. So doing these practices on a regular basis to kind of fortify the nervous system, to regulate its activity, that can help you. Somebody just stopped so I could cross the street. Very, very nice. That was fun. So that'll help you with a lot of triggers that if you're at an 8 or a 9 already are going to be too much to handle. Right? So you can think of the straw that broke the camel's back. If the camel is unburdened, they won't even notice the straw. So dealing with allostatic load from a physiological perspective is the first step in becoming a trigger-free human, or a trigger-free leader. I notice as I'm walking, people are walking past me, noticing that I'm speaking. I also have these 2 microphones on with the little fuzzy muffs, because we don't call them dead cats because I'm a vegan. And then they look and they see I don't have earbuds in, and then they think maybe he is just talking to himself. At least that's my projection. I obviously have no idea. So I'm approaching the C32 underpass. So the cheap real estate here, where the big box stores are, is kind of out. So it's this far away, and then there's the highway. On the other side of the highway, I guess, there's all this cheap land. So there's a storage unit, and the larger buildings are here. So that's where I'm heading to right now. Now I'm walking, and I got a backpack, and I'm going downtown after this. It's pretty cold out. It's around 10 degrees Celsius, which I guess is like sort of mid-40s Fahrenheit. So I don't think I'm going to get anything frozen or heavy. It's just some bars and just see what else is doing here. I don't know if my voice sounds different. I'm under the overpass now, maybe a little more resonant. Okay, so that is the first part, the allostatic load, and how by dealing with understanding allostatic load and working consciously, intentionally, consistently to lower it, we can become more resilient to many of the triggers in our life that would otherwise take control and have us responding as if there is a threat that needs to be dealt with, as opposed to, a situation that we can approach with curiosity, compassion, creativity, and courage. You know what? I think this is enough for now. So, well, thank you for joining me on this walk. I hope this has been helpful. So know that at least I got 3 more podcasts coming up where I talk about the other 3 aspects of this first part of the book about triggers, or freeing ourselves from triggers, or trigger-free human, trigger-free leadership. Hey, and if you have good ideas for like titles and subtitles, or anything else, I would love to hear it. You can just email me, hj@plantyourself.com. And I'll talk to you again on another walk. Thank you for joining me. I hope I'll edit this so that it's not too annoying for my lacunas where I didn't have anything to say. So let me know what you think, if this is a fun way to spend some time with me or not. And of course, I'm going to continue doing the usual format of interviews with fascinating people. But that's about it for today. So as always, be well, my friends.
Let's take this home with some gratitudes. First of all, thanks to Mama Earth. You have been so very, very good to me. Second, Will Ridenauer donated the use of his beautiful song Sabali Dawn as the theme music for this show. You can find out more about Will's music at willridenauer.com. Third, thanks to all the patrons of the Plant Yourself podcast for your financial support. You can read the names of all the patrons at any show notes at plantyourself.com. If you would like to become a patron to show your gratitude for the work I'm doing and help support it, you can do so at plantyourself.com/gift. That's GIFT, all lowercase. And finally, I want to thank you, the listener, for making all of this possible. for giving me a reason to reach out to people, to have conversations, to edit, produce, publicize. All the stuff that I do is for you, so that we can continue to have conversations and continue to ripple out healing and transformation into the world.